When good things happen, should we always think it's God?
You got to define good here, don't you?
Go for it.
Good. What I like. Things that make my life better. I think there's ways in which we can define good. Classic example in our culture, which we're largely a bunch of individualists here in this culture. And so often it's easy for me to define good as what's best for me, without thinking whether what's best for me is best for us. And so I think there's times that I might go, wow, something great just happened to me, and it kind of stops, my assessment stops with me, and I don't think about the fact that with that happening good to me was bad maybe for some of you, and I praise God for it when maybe that wasn't God at all. I mean, I think in this culture, the enemy can do stuff that looks to be good in the sense of making my life more convenient or happy or whatever, and actually what it's doing is fostering my own alienation from my community, a lot of things. So no, I don't think we can just depends how you define good. If good ultimately what we're talking about is good as defined by God, yeah, then yes. But not as good as defined by my culture, probably.
I've met students who claimed, their idea of good was, hooking up with some girl at a bar that night. And every good gift comes from the Father above, so God gave me the girl. And I'm thinking, maybe not so much. It depends. So a lot of what you think maybe is good is actually, it can be an evil, and Satan can masquerade as an angel of light and things of that sort. But if you grant that something is genuinely good, let's just postpone that. I would. Someone asked me this question a couple weeks ago after a service. They were saying, look, if there's a lot of variables that factor into whether or not prayer is answered, and even whether or not evil happens to you, a lot of things that are outside of your control, a lot of things that are up to the decisions of other people, and then that's not God's fault. Well, then is it God's credit when it turns out that it could happen? Because that also is the effect of a lot of variables. In some sense, you got lucky, so can you really give God the glory for that? And so the suggestion was that if you can't blame God for the evil, then you really can't credit God for all the good. But see, here's what I want to say, that if it's good, it's a gift. And therefore, it's always appropriate to give God the glory for that. Thank God for this good blessing. Because if God wasn't the force moving in this universe for good, there wouldn't be any goodness. We live in this war zone, and Jesus Christ is the criteria ultimately for what is of God and what is not. And so if it's consistent with the character of Jesus Christ, if it's consistent with the kingdom and love and life affirmation and all of that, then I want to say that ultimately it comes from God, who is always working for the good and always pushing back forces of evil. But it also is often, if not usually the case, that there's other folks to thank as well. And those aren't two conflicting things. It's not an all or nothing deal. If someone comes up and gives me, let's say I'm in my ministry, a ministry that I have, helping people get out of homelessness, they donate $1,000. That $1,000 now I give to these folks to help them get into an apartment or whatever. They'll say, thank God, answered a prayer, thank God, and it was. But they'd also thank me for having this ministry, and they'd also thank the person who gave to this ministry. And so there's different levels here, but ultimately I want to say that if it's good, it's of God, and every good gift comes from the Father above.